everyone. In this session today, I'll be talking about something that is being happening right now and has got a huge historic relevance. Something that is nostalgic for India as well as for Pakistan. But before moving on to the exact information, let me tell you what is happening as of now. Recently, if you would have gone through the news, you would have noticed that there have been some very frequent news articles around Indian Navy's P-8I, Neptune long range reconnaissance maritime aircraft, making very frequent sorties around the Arabian Sea. Aircraft that is reportedly maintaining an active patrol and an active presence very close to Pakistan's coastline over past several days. A deployment that has attracted significant attention amongst regional military observers, and the increased activity is coming at a time when Pakistan is planning to induct a new submarine into its fleet. Now, a submarine that is basically prepared by China for their child Pakistan. Now, essentially, why this high profile missions are taking place and why this P-8I reconnaissance aircraft has been maintaining high level of activity is something of great importance. Many open source tracking observations and maritime reports have suggested that Indian Navy's P-8I aircraft has been conducting extended patrols over the entire northern Arabian Sea, and specifically those areas which are adjacent to Pakistan's coastline. Even though the exact objectives of these sorties remain undisclosed, but many international and national defense analysts believe that this is something which is working upon dual purpose. The first is basically to monitor the maritime traffic. This is usually the time wherein huge level of infiltration in the coastal areas of India happens. Secondly, many defense analysts say that India is planning to demonstrate its robust anti-submarine warfare capabilities, because at the same time a new addition is being made into the Pakistani Navy. This time of patrol is particularly noteworthy as Pakistan's PNS Hangor is currently making its delivery voyage from China. Okay, so China has manufactured a submarine PNS Hangor for Pakistan, and it is on its delivery sail from China to Pakistan. The submarine is said to have recently crossed through the South Asian waters and has been reportedly stopped at Malaysia for logistical support and replenishment before it reaches Pakistan. Now, once this PNS Hangor gets commissioned into the active service in the Pakistani Navy, it will become the first of 8 Hangor-class submarines planned for the Pakistani Navy, which will essentially bring a major boost to Pakistan's naval capabilities. Now, why do I call it historic and nostalgic? Because this is relatively the only term that Pakistan usually celebrates. This Hangor class submarine is based upon the Chinese Yuan class submarines, which will effectively enhance Pakistan's underwater warfare capabilities. Now, this is basically a very technologically advanced, modernized submarine that is planned to be inducted into the Pakistani Navy. Now, before moving on to the entire information, let me tell you that what essentially is the historical context here. Now, in 1971, Pakistani Navy had suffered a decisive defeat in the Bay of Bengal during the Bangladesh Liberation War. Now, 55 years after its humiliating defeat in 1971, Pakistan is again attempting a bold naval comeback in India's backyard. Now, in the strategic fallout, Pakistan had lost half its territory and had virtually no naval presence in the Bay of Bengal. Moreover, in 2026, Pakistan is planning to deploy its new Hangor-class submarine in the Bay of Bengal, which will be the first such attempt since 1971. So, from a bloody nose in 1971 to a new Hangor class in 2026, Pakistan is again testing its waters. Okay, and I think I should not remind that the last time when Indian Navy had engaged the Pakistani Navy, it was the time when Pakistan was divided into two parts. But first, let me tell you what is this PNS Hangor. Now, this PNS Hangor is essentially a Chinese-built underwater submarine, and this is based upon the Chinese Type 039B Yuan class. Okay. Now, the fleet size, it will be first of 8 submarines being acquired from China, and April 2026 it was commissioned in China and arrived in Karachi recently. So, essentially, if we talk about the key features of this submarine, so we can see that this submarine, okay, it can stay submerged for weeks without resurfacing. It has got an advanced stealth capability, state of the art modern sensors and the combat systems, and potentially it is dual capable. That is, this submarine can carry dual warheads, conventional as well as nuclear warhead. So this is a modern, quiet and a lethal underwater submarine being gifted by China to Pakistan, essentially to challenge the Indian dominance in the entire region. Now, what is Pakistan's ambitious plan? So, what Pakistan is publicly stating, senior Pakistani Navy officers have openly declared that the Hangor class will maintain a persistent presence in the Bay of Bengal. The core objective is to expand operational footprint beyond the traditional Arabian Sea theater, and the timing is critical because it coincides with the improving Pakistan-Bangladesh relations, including the military cooperation, port visit, and the growing bilateral trade in between essentially a single country. So this basically is a tactical move being taken up by China. Now, how it is a strategic shift? Okay, now traditional Pakistani zone was the Arabian Sea. Now they are eyeing the Bay of Bengal, which is a distant projection for them. This is a reactive posture earlier in the Arabian Sea. Now it will be a proactive presence that they are eyeing. So Pakistan wants to turn the Bay of Bengal, which is essentially an Indian stronghold, into a contested zone. Okay. Now, what is India's response? So, if Pakistan thinks that with the help of China, they can anytime counter India, then they are hugely mistaken. Now, the P8I Neptune, the eyes in the sky, okay, and what India has already done, India has intensified the P8I Poseidon patrols over the Arabian Sea and near the Pakistan's coastline. They have increased surveillance during the PNS Hangor's maiden transit from China to Karachi, and the aircraft IN 329, okay, was tracked maintaining pattern 180-190 kilometers south of Karachi, legally inside Pakistan's exclusive economic zone but outside the territorial waters. So essentially, India has been noting these steps of Pakistan. Okay, so while Pakistan is dreaming of Bay of Bengal, India's P8I, which are the eyes in the sky, are already watching every move of Pakistan. Now, if we talk about the fleet expansion, so in 2009, the 8 P8Is, okay, were bought with an investment of 2.1 billion US dollar. Currently, this has been expanded to 18 P8Is with an additional investment of around 3.5 to 4 billion US dollar. Okay, so essentially we can see the strategically India has been eyeing, and India knew that this is something that is coming for it in the future. Essentially, what are the strategic implications? So for Pakistan, this is a symbolic naval revival. Even though it is not Pakistan's revival, it is basically uh, Pakistan had begged before China, and China, in order to counter India's dominance, has been helping out Pakistan. Next, enhanced underwater capability with Chinese help and the ability to threaten India's eastern seaboard. For India, it is increased naval competition in the eastern Indian Ocean, potential use of Bangladesh ports by the Pakistani vessels, and new challenges to the sea lane security. So, it is primarily the Malacca Strait access, because India has now been eyeing the Malacca Strait, and with the Great Nicobar project, it is China who is concerned now. So this is not just about one submarine. Okay, it signals a larger undersea rivalry in the Indian Ocean region, which is being driven by the which is being driven by the China, Pakistan, and Bangladesh naval nexus. Okay, now if we see the way forward for India, so India has to ensure dominance through superior technology and its presence. Okay, so if we talk about the Indian pillars, the maritime domain awareness, India has been deploying more PATI aircrafts, indigenous drones, and underwater surveillance networks. Eastern seaboard fortification, so to enhance Andaman and Nicobar command and the Eastern Naval Command capabilities. Regional diplomacy, they are deepening naval diplomacy with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Indonesia to counter the Pakistani influence, and indigenous submarines. India has already accelerated the 75I indigenous conventional submarines and strengthened the anti-submarine warfare systems. So basically, India has been relying upon Atmanirbharta, and with this self-reliance technique, okay, India's response, even though will be quiet, but it will be firm and overwhelming for Pakistan as well as China. Now, India is eyeing dominance through superior technology and its presence in this area. So, even though we can see that Pakistan is attempting its first significant naval foray in this Bay of Bengal, the Hangor-class submarine marks a major upgrade in Pakistan naval capability. So, this is something that we have to acknowledge. Moreover, India is proactively monitoring developments through intensified PATI patrols, which is both visible and covert. Okay. Now, this development had reinforced the growing undersea competition in the complete Indian Ocean region, with China as the underlying variable in this. Okay. So, for India, India now has to heavily concentrate upon the naval modernization. They have to strengthen the regional maritime partnership and enhance submarine detection and neutralization capabilities. So, even though Pakistan may send its new Hangor to the Bay of Bengal, but India's radar, submarine, and resolve are there waiting for Pakistan to do whatever it is planning for. Okay. Secondly, one thing that has to be understood is that deterrence is not about having weapons. It is about seeing to have the capability and the will to use them. Now, India's visible P-8I patrols have sent a very clear message that India has been watching what Pakistan and China has been planning. Now, India has sent a very clear message without even firing a single shot. Okay. So, for Indian navies, okay, this P-8I fleet represents one of the most capable anti-submarine warfare platforms which have been operating in the Indo-Pacific region for long. Now, these aircrafts have been equipped with very high sophisticated surface search radars, electronic intelligence system, and the modern anti-submarine weapons. Now, the aircraft can detect, track, and monitor submarine activities across vast ocean regions. Okay, so Pakistan, no matter the new submarine, how much stealth capabilities it has, but still it will not be able to hide from the Indian P-8I aircrafts. Okay, so this sustained presence of the P-8Is, okay, has majorly made it very clear that India's premier submarine, anti-submarine warfare platform near Pakistani coast, okay, reflects that government of India is determined to preserve the undersea situational awareness at a time when Pakistan is introducing a new generation and a Chinese built submarine which is capable of challenging India's maritime dominance. Okay, so this is something that India, even though it knows, okay, but India has been keeping a quite watch on this, and India has been ensuring that no activity of Pakistan will go undetected, and at the right time India will give its reply. Moreover, in this meantime, India has been diplomatically and strategically maintaining itself so that the Pakistan's ambition and the Chinese ambition of dominance in this area can be countered well within this time. Okay, so this is something that has to that is something that Pakistan would be proud of, but still we should not be bothered. Acha. Now a very important anecdote that I must tell you, that why this name Hangor, okay, how it evokes history. In 1971, the Pakistan's submarine PNS Hangor had sank India's INS Khukri during the Indo-Pak War. Now, that was probably the first instance wherein the Indian Navy warship sank in wartime since independence, and it is probably the only celebrated naval strike by Pakistan. However, the sinking of INS Khukri did not alter the outcome of the 1971 war. Pakistan had suffered a crushing defeat as the Indian forces on land, air, and sea had crushed Pakistanis and helped Bangladesh secure independence. Okay, so basically, it is 55 years after the Bangladesh Liberation War. Okay, Pakistanis had suffered badly. Pakistanis had suffered a bloody nose, but the Pakistan is again trying to revive its naval power in this, and this is the reason why this another Pakistani Hangor is making headlines. Okay, so do let me know, how do you perceive this step of Pakistan, and how do you perceive the Indian response to Pakistan's and Chinese strategy? Moreover, if you are preparing for 2027 or 2028 UPSC examination, then today is the last day to avail flat 50% off in our Arambh UPSC offer. So on all StudyIQ UPSC courses, you can avail flat 50% discount, and this Arambh offer ends today. The complete English language batches for GS Foundation are starting now. So do not waste any moment further, as these batches are based upon our smart model, structured classes, mentorship, assessment, revision, and test. You just need to use the code SRM Live to avail maximum discount and the best price to start with your preparation. So this was all from my side today. We'll see you all in the next session. Jai Hind.